Dr. Alan MacFarland has been the senior pastor of Calvary Evangelical Baptist Church in Portsmouth for 38 years and serves as a trustee of Liberty University as well as professor of theology. He is the current president of the Southern Baptist Convention of Virginia. He is founder and chancellor of the Angelos Bible College, and he and his church are also one of the key churches involved in the Portsmouth Revival, a multi-church revival held annually. He and his wife, Doris, have been married for more than 52 years, have 4 daughters and 1 son, and 16 grandchildren. He is affectionately known as Pastor Mac to many, including me, and it is my pleasure to welcome back to the Clear Creek cabin via Zoom, Pastor Alan MacFarland. Alan, wonderful to have you here.
It's my pleasure, Rich. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. One quick question: Is your son the youngest? Is he in the middle?
He's the youngest. I kept throwing the same pass. The doctor said, touchdown, it's a boy.
Well, I gave up after 4. I had 4 daughters, and everyone kept saying, hey, the next one will be a boy, the next one will be a boy. And finally I said, stop it. So I should have kept going like you. But of course, we wouldn't trade our daughters for the world.
No, love them. And I have 4 great son-in-laws too.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, great guys.
Yes, wonderful. I have 1 so far. So your call to God to the ministry was triggered by your reading of Isaiah 52:7.
Yes.
Tell me about your salvation experience and your call to ministry.
Yes, sir. I got saved in 1965. I went to Washington, D.C. from South Carolina, where I grew up. You might pick up that Charlestonian accent, man. And after getting kicked out of college, my dad, the second time now, my dad said, you think life is F-U-N. I said, yes, sir. He said, no, it's about a J-O-B. So he connected with some guys doing construction work, pouring concrete. And that's how I ended up in D.C. with one guy. He said, let's go and check D.C. out. We can make $2 more per hour. And I said, man, let's go. So he told me just to have a bottle of whiskey, and he would pick me up Friday night. And we did. We drank whiskey all the way to Washington, D.C. from South Carolina. Stopped off in North Carolina and bought some more. And got to D.C. that Saturday morning. We went to a rooming house. And when we got there, there were a bunch of guys there from South Carolina who also were doing construction work. And they said, let's get one, which means let's get a drink. And I said, hey, I'll go. Tell me where. They said, there's a liquor store on every corner. This was 7th and P Northwest, between P and Q. So I went to the whiskey store, and my testimony is this. As I was standing on the corner, 7th and P, a blonde said to me, do you sport? I'm waiting for the light to change. And I was surprised. This white lady was saying something to me. They didn't do that in South Carolina. And I said, yeah. But she started talking about money. I'm thinking about the Washington Redskins or the Senators, which was the baseball team at the time. And as she was talking about money, I realized we were not in the same sport. She was a prostitute. And I lied my way into the liquor store, lied my way back, and I told the guys, and they laughed. What did you say, Pee-wee? Now, you don't have to call me Pee-wee, okay?
Right.
But I lied. But in my heart, I said, this is for me. I want to be here. So at the end of that week, we went back to South Carolina, and I packed everything, put it in a Samsonite suitcase. And at the Greyhound bus station, it was less than $20 to go from D.C., from South Carolina to D.C. And my dad said, no. This one is on me. So he paid for my ticket, and I went to D.C., back to that rooming house. And by this time, I don't remember the other guys. I think they were gone. but I stayed there and tried to find a job. I had a lot of money, about $600, and wasted everything. And the landlady one Friday said, "Now, where's the rent?" I said, "Ma'am, I don't have any money." I thought she understood. We were drinking and all, partying together. Now she wants rent. She said, "No, son, you pay your way in DC." So I called my dad. He sent some money by Western Union, and then told me that I had an uncle there that I needed to call. I didn't want to call him because he was a Pentecostal preacher. So I did, though. I broke down to call him. He told me of some other uncles, more of my age. I said, more of my age, along with me. That child story that just came out. But one of those uncles was a student at Washington Bible College. And his wife picked me up and they introduced me to my wife. Now it's been 55 years. I walked into her life and sitting in church with her one Sunday. I saw Romans 10:9, that thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, believe in thine heart that God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. I had taken a drink that Saturday night. I had taken a taste that morning, we call it a taste, because I was going to church and I was going to be with this girl and I needed some spirits and alcohol, spirits. So sitting with her, I saw Romans 10:9. It convicted me. I walked the aisle that Sunday and I've never looked back. 2 years later, that girl became my wife. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. And a little bit about your call to ministry.
Yes, sir. I really jumped into the work of the Lord. I have a speech impediment. You probably haven't picked it up yet, but I am a stutterer. And I didn't want to do anything that involved talking. So I joined the usher board. And, there you just pass out the bulletin and nod your head, say good morning. But then because I was dating this girl who could sing, she was on the choir. I would go with her to choir practice and they would say, "Alan, come on up and sing." And I said, no. I don't sing. But stutterers don't stutter when they're singing. And I began to sing and I joined a praise team that they had. So to go with the pastor whenever he went someplace. And they would put pressure on me to introduce the song, okay? Like the song that we're going to sing right now is taken from, and I was not stuttering, believe it or not. And the more I did that, people would say, "Hey, Alan, when are you going to answer that call?" I said, "What call?" "The call to preach." I said, no. Then I would start stuttering, just trying to. And then as I grew in the Lord, I became chairman of the deacon board. And in 1968, 69, more like the early 70s. Yeah, the early 70s, around 71 or so, there was still some unrest in DC. So my uncle, who was the pastor, thought we should go and I hate to tell you this, man, this doesn't sound good, but we should go and worship with some white people. And that didn't go good in my spirit. So he wanted the whole church to go and just worship. And because he was into this thing of reconciliation, DC. And then there was another Sunday, which was in 71, as I was sitting on the deacon's board, didn't want to go to this church because it was in Kenilworth, right across from 295. You know where Kenilworth was?
I do, yeah.
And so my pastor then was preaching, and I didn't want to go because that church didn't care about those people in the community, as I thought, because I was doing a Bible study over there, okay, on a Tuesday night. And so sitting there, I opened my Bible, trying to get my heart right. I came across came across Isaiah 52:7. And that's when God stirred my heart. how beautiful upon the mountain are the feet of those who publish, and I don't remember the scripture per se, but who publishes peace, who says to Zion, thy God reigneth. And I thought, man. So I asked my pastor after church, man, can we get together and talk? And so we went with another guy, and they said, Alan, when do you want to preach? I said, no. I don't want to preach. He said, that's what this passage is talking about. How beautiful upon the mountain. I said, but I can't speak. He says, what does it say anything about speech? It says feet. I want to use your feet. And that was my call to preach there that Sunday evening. And I preached my first initial sermon in January of '72. The Sunday the Redskins played Miami in the Super Bowl, the same time. And some guy said, man, we'd love to come to hear you preach, but it'll be 20 years before the Skins go back to the Super Bowl. And it was.
Yeah. Right.
And ironically or not, I'll just say this, you know, being in an African American church in the community, my pastor at the time, he didn't care. He talked with one of his friends who was pastoring a white Assembly of God. He wanted us to use his building because we were a storefront church, and he just thought the whole world was going to come here, Alan. Nobody came except the choir and a few men. And I preached from Psalms 1, 2 men, 2 destination, and something else. Yeah, but that was my first sermon. Yeah, and I was scared to death. So here I am today, 57 years later, still preaching.
So almost 50 years of ministry now, Alan. What have some of the highlights been for you?
Naturally, seeing someone come to the Lord has been a highlight, but also seeing people like I used to be, sinners, who have come to the Lord, and then to have seen them grow in the Lord, and to see how God has changed their lives, changed their families. I think of one guy, he had a scar on his face, and I went to visit him and asked him if I could baptize his children. And he had shades on. He had a quart of liquor on the table. And he was in the hood in D.C. And then afterward, I said, now, sir, I want to ask you about your relationship with the Lord. He took his shades off, and he said, now, you came to talk to me about my children, right? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, when I need you, I'll know how to find you. I said, oh, thank you, sir. So are you telling me it's time to go? He said, yes, I'm telling you it's time to go. And I'm telling you this is what turns me on. Because as I walked to the door and I had to go down the steps, there were no lights going down the steps in that apartment building, and got to my car. That was like on a Friday or whatever. No, it wasn't on a Friday. That was during the week. That Friday, he was leaving work, had a head-on collision on Jefferson Highway there because he worked at Fort Belvoir. Had a head-on collision.
Route 1.
And remembered the man that he hit. He got out of his car and said, thank God I had my seatbelts on. Now, this guy was drunk, like I used to be. And that's why I had that head-on collision. Got arrested. And sitting in jail, he said he could remember that cross-eyed preacher with the big fro saying, now tell me about your salvation. So his wife bailed him out of jail. And the next Sunday, he got up, he was getting dressed. The wife said, where are you going? He said, I'm going with these children to church. She said, oh my God, if you're going to church, it's time for all of us to go to church. He came, and that Sunday I was preaching as the youth pastor, the assistant pastor. He walked the aisle, got saved, and I can't tell you, that guy became a deacon in our church. He would go out with me in the streets, winning people to the Lord. There would be opposition because, we're going to reach children. I'll never forget, one guy came out and he would say, y'all get away from these children. Who do you think you are? This was in Anacostia, Southeast. And he was trying to get us to leave. And this guy, this Fred, now he's a deacon with a scar on his face now that came from, being out in the world. And I'll never forget this. He went to the guy and said, hey, listen, you don't put any fear in me. But to see guys like that who change and come to the Lord, yeah, those are highlights of the ministry. And I still see people coming to the Lord, and I just get excited. Yeah, I'm sorry to go on, but yeah, that's exciting to me.
That's wonderful. And of course, as pastors, we've all had some low points in our ministry as well. Can you maybe share one or two low points during your almost 50 years of ministry?
Yeah, just the opposite. Preaching and teaching, and you're wondering, is anybody listening? Is anybody doing what I'm saying? And then by chance, someone falls into sin, and you try to correct them. So I've had a lot of people who've left the church because I believe in reconciliation. I believe that when sin comes in the camp, you must get it right. And so I've had people to leave. And in the midst of all of that, I've seen how marriages were broken up because they didn't stay, they didn't get things right. And those things are hurting. And particularly when people don't deposit in their kids the things that are being taught to them, and the kids don't walk with the Lord. Those are low points for me. As a person, I'm usually hype. And Sunday nights, I'm low. And when my children were with me, they knew that. So they would get a video. And it was almost like a family time. And they would get something they know that I would like. And to this day, they know that. Dad, what are you watching tonight? This is a Sunday night now, okay? And I'll say, well, I don't know. But that's my downtime. And then on Mondays, always want to quit. Always thinking, man,
Right.
what happened? Yes.
Right.
So that's why for about 20 years, I've been going to Lynchburg every Monday to teach at Liberty University. I get hype going to be with young people. And then I take them out to eat after class and let them talk to me. So that builds me up. But those are my lows. Other than that, usually you'll catch me, I'm excited about the things of God. Even negative things get me excited. Yes, sir.
What would you like people to know about your heart for ministry?
Well, number one, I know that Jesus in the Beatitude, he talked about the pure in heart. I like to keep my heart that way because, as I shared with you in our first broadcast with you, in a sense, I'm genuine and I want people to feel that way. I don't want to lift myself up, build myself up more highly than I should be. So I just like being a friend to people. I want to be friendly and I want them to remember me that way. But some people would come to the table believing I have ulterior motives because of my friendliness and my deportment, the way I carry myself. When in essence, it's just me. And not that I'm so down to earth that I'm no earthly good. Now, I'm not there. I'm trying to keep my guards up and walk godly and holy and all that kind of stuff. But that's the way I want to go. And I want people to remember me that way, that they can talk to me about anything and it stays with me. My wife will ask me in a heartbeat, now, who was that? Why were you at church? Who were you talking to? and I may tell her who I was talking to, but she's a wife. She's nosy. She wants to know what's going on. But I can't tell her. I can't reveal things that I've been shared with by others. But I want people to know that I'm trustworthy. They can trust me. And that's how I want to spend the rest of my life, just doing that. Yeah.
Well, I've I've enjoyed, Kathy and I have both enjoyed getting to know Doris a little bit. And so I'd like to ask you, how important has Doris been to you personally and to your ministry? And this is kind of an open door for you to brag about your family as well, Alan.
Well, as I mentioned to you earlier, I got saved sitting beside her in church, and she, and I didn't throw this in when I was talking about my salvation, but see, that was a virgin. She let me know that up front. And I knew she was lying. So that's why I kept going with her to church, because I figured, come on, man, this girl can't be real. And I got saved in the meantime. So because she was a virgin, I didn't have to chase her. I could feel comfortable being with her because I wanted her to stay just as she was. She said the man she slept with was going to be her husband. So I went and bought her some rings. And she said, this is not the wedding. This is an engagement. Which means you're going to have to wait till you get married. Okay. So that means during that time, that transition, she became my best friend. Because I could talk with her, we could get together, and it wasn't no sinful whatever going on. So we went into our marriage that way, talking about where we were going to live and so forth and so on, and we talk about just about everything. I said just about everything, and for the result of that, she's my best critic. She's smarter than I am. So
yes.
I'll even throw out my sermon ideas to her, my titles. And if she doesn't get it, I change it. Because no need trying to preach this to folks, they don't even understand it. So that's who she is. That's been good for me because she says she's going to keep me looking good and protect my reputation. And she's done that. And there's a third thing she says, I forgot what it, I guess, meet my needs or something like that, she says. But she has done that. And I've disappointed her, I know, in many ways. Wish I had done things differently, but she's been good. And I'll tell you this is a little story. I don't know how much time I have, but let me share this. I was doing some ministry in Chicago, and I was in the McCombrick Hotel. And I remember I was upstairs, I was studying, and I decided to go down and just get some fresh air. Went to the lobby, the bellsman was there. I began to try to witness to him. And in the meantime, 2 prostitutes came in. And I said, man, what you guys got going on here? He said, well, sir, you can get anything here you want. And that was back in the 90s. And I said, excuse me. When he said that, I went upstairs and I called Dot. I said, hey, Dot, man, I hate to lay this on you, but you have to resign your job. I can't be traveling like this. I can't be ministering like this by myself. Mm-hmm. If we're going to have a marriage, you're going to have to be with me. Mm-hmm. And Dot was working at the Naval Hospital, and she had a great income. That was great for the family. And I kind of regret that in a way, because that girl could have had a great retirement check coming in. But she resigned her job, and as I would go, you know, even though a church may pay for me, I would pay for Dot to go. Take whatever remuneration they would give me, and she would be with me to protect me. And she has done that, and I'm so grateful for her just being beside me. And she has raised the children while I was out there doing whatever. And I was 5 kids. They're all over the world. All 5 of them are faithfully serving the Lord. I love to tell you that. My son videoed me yesterday, something I'm doing for CEF, and they wanted a video. They were going to send somebody by. I said, no, don't do that. My son is so gifted. He has a PhD and a DMin degree, and just a gifted guy. I don't know what he's going to do when he grows up, but he has a wife and 3 wonderful boys.
It's a wonderful, wonderful blessing. Yes.
Yeah. The wife sings like Yolanda Adams. I mean, How he landed her, I don't know. But then my 4 daughters and great son-in-laws, they're all athletes. Their body built much better than mine. And I talked with one of my son-in-laws today. I was listening to a clipping from his oldest daughter, who was 14, who was in 8th grade going on to 9th grade, and she was president of the whatever in the school, student body or whatever. And she was giving a speech. And I was listening to this little girl acting like her mama. And I called her dad. I said, listen, that girl of yours, I know she wants to be a chef, but come on, she can move mountains more than pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at my grandkids now and seeing what my kids are doing all over the world. My oldest daughter was a pharmaceutical rep. She was 17th in the nation. Her husband runs the Ron Blue, which is a financial firm for the state of Tennessee. And she's not in pharmaceutical now. They're raising 4 wonderful kids. My daughter number 2 has written 3 books with Life Away. They're children books. Her husband is a pastor, Strong Tower Bible Church in Nashville, Tennessee. Daughter number 3 was my children's director for 10 years. And some boy came by and took her away. She's in Arkansas, and she's on the board of CEF for the state of Arkansas. He's a diesel mechanic. And for Union Pacific, he makes more money than all of my sons-in-laws. And daughter number 4, her husband and her went to Boston to plant a church. And she is dean of students at Cambridge College in Boston. And he's now working for NAM, North American Mission Board, and doing some coalition there with churches all over Boston. And I'm just proud of them and what they're doing in the world. Yes, sir.
Oh, this has been wonderful, Alan, just talking with you. Is there anything else you'd like to say about what gives you the greatest satisfaction in ministry, or what your hopes and dreams are for those whose lives you touch? Is there anything you'd like to kind of conclude with today, just to share your heart?
Well, I know that I'm not, in a sense, eternally placed on the earth. I'm not going to be living forever, and I'm getting older. I'm different from you. I cut my beard the other day. I might let it grow back.
I took a vow at the beginning, not a Nazarene vow, but at the beginning, I took a vow, this COVID thing, and I said I wasn't going to shave until it's over. I had no idea it was going to last so long.
Yeah, well, I want to make a difference in this earth, in this world system. And I think I've learned a few things. You know, as an African American, I sit among a lot of white guys on boards. You know, I think of ABWE, Association of Baptists for World Evangelism, as well as the SBCB at Liberty University, Atlantic Shores Christian School. I was with Crisis Pregnancy Center for a long time on their board. But I've learned some things. I've learned that it doesn't matter what color you are, you can be stuck on stupid. Now, here's where I'm going with this. We can be so settled in our ways with the people that we conversate with daily that we forget there are other people out there who don't look like us, who don't have the privilege to sit at the table with us. And I've allowed myself to sit on boards because, Rick, I believe that's where you make decisions. That's where decision makers are, sitting at the table. Again, we talked about when I was younger, I was demonstrating in the civil rights movement. You don't get a lot of decisions made on the street like that. Martin Luther King had to sit at the table with Kennedy and Johnson, and their decisions were made. So I appreciate the opportunities God has given me, and I love thinking that I'm making a difference and trying to tell others that you can do it. Because of my speech impediment, because I got kicked out of college twice, I'm forever telling young people, come on, man, come on. You can do it. Come on, you don't have to settle for this. You can do it. And trying to let people live godly, teaching them how to do that. is what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Alan. Great to have you here with us again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick. Love you, man. Thank you. Anything for you, anytime. I'll be happy to be with you.
I love you too, Alan, and Doris, your wife. We're looking forward to getting to know you both better in the future. Take care. Thanks for being with us. Bye.